today is a bit of a different. We've got a marketing company, but the reason I really wanted to have a conversation is they recently applied for being a B Corp certified as one of the first companies in Durham County. So yes. So I think that's something unique, that's something that needs a shout out, and maybe will inspire others to follow the path with what's happening around the globe right now. I think that's something that we should talk more about, like being green, being sustainable. Obviously, we're not experts on sustainability, but we can, you're working with clients, you know quite a lot about what your clients do, and there's also a reason why you are very much into that. So I think that's something that will be very interesting to find out today and talk about. I know you work with both startups, incubators, different types of companies, organizations as well. So quite unique for someone very early in the journey, being niche focused at the same time working with different size companies. We're also constantly working on ensuring that sustainability as the heart of Adopter's growth. So let's chat about that. Well, let's start with the background. I'd like to talk about what led you to working together. First of all, were you at the same university, or how did you met? What kind of brought you together to start the company?
Should I?
Yeah, no,
okay.
Go ahead.
So we're at the same time at the university, and we're working on different projects together or like alongside each other. And then following graduation, we're doing different bits and pieces, which included freelancing in the marketing space. And at one point, sort of like one conversation led to another, and we realized that we could team up and do bigger, more ambitious, more impactful things together. And well, here we are sitting and giving this little chat.
Yeah. When was that? Was it 3 years ago or longer?
I think it was a year and 9 months ago.
Okay.
That will be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I actually said to Leon when we walked in, who's Durham City Incubator over there. I completely forgot to say thank you to him at the start, but I think that was a big part of our beginning journey, because we started off sort of combining as freelancers who were doing digital marketing and had different skills, so it sort of made sense to join forces. And then we realised that we wanted to do something where we can actually make a difference. I did a politics degree at uni, and I was surrounded by people who were really passionate about the environment, but I didn't really feel like I was doing anything to solve it. I was just talking about the ideas. And I think what's satisfying about working with green technology businesses is you go, oh my God, what are we going to do about this giant crisis? And someone goes, I have the solution. It's like, brilliant. But yeah, we did Durham City Incubator right at the start of our journey, which was great. And that kind of transitioned us into more of a functioning business, and then we sort of snowballed from there, which is really exciting.
I mean, speaking of Durham City Incubator, if we're already in the area, I know this is one of your upcoming questions. At the very beginning, we considered different ways to specialize, but we haven't actually thought about green technology sustainability. But then the process of applying for Durham City Incubator provided us with inspiration to think how we can make this business be something more, how we can even more align it with ourselves and our preferences. And then we sort of explore this idea as a part of Durham City Incubator, which then allowed us to narrow it and capture, what we want it to be, and then focus fully on green technology adoption and green innovation.
Yeah, that was my next question. Yeah, well, it was very much on. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, no, that's a great start, and I think a lot of companies, when they start, they kind of do everything. If it's marketing, oh yeah, for everyone, and they think that's their strategy and that's the best one. And apparently the other way round worked for you quite well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the things that we hear a lot when we speak to businesses and organisations. So we work with companies that have invented a new green technology, and then also NGOs and policy organisations that are forging new green tech markets, which is quite interesting, because you see the policy is driving the innovation is driving the policy, and it's quite exciting to be part of both ends. completely forgot what my point was there. Where did I start? I got too excited about the both ends scenario.
I'm happy to jump in with
Yeah.
some
Go ahead.
other like related thought, which is that with the specialization, right? It's, it can be tempting to think that, oh, everyone can be our customer, but if you think more about it, then there's only so much detail that you can get into with every niche, and there's only so much understanding you can have of different topics. So if you focus in one area, then you can actually excel in it instead of being sort of like jack of all trades, master of none. And this is also from the client's perspective, because if one of our clients is the world's first initiative, sustainability-linked sovereign debt hub with advisors that include, for example, World Bank, then speaking with them, it's good to know sustainability instead of them asking, okay, what else are you working on? And then saying, oh, we work with a toy company, we work with, I don't know, a local florist and lawyer. It's much stronger business relationship if you can say, oh yeah, we're working with Task Force on Nature Markets, Sfera, Nature Alpha, and here are some other bits of work that we did that are related to green technologies.
Yeah, I think that's really been the key to how we've grown so far, is these are very technical, complicated ideas, and I think that the more that you specialise in them as a service provider, the better service you can provide, and it sort of continues from there.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I think it's a courageous jump for a company at the start to go into niche, and I think it's a good step, but I think a lot of business owners would think like, oh, that's courageous. Even recently, last week, I was talking to someone who was very much like, no, that's not a good strategy, because I actually advise like, yes, maybe focus on something. So that's great. Well, let's talk about your experience to date. Were there any challenges, in that 2 years since you started? What were the biggest challenges for you?
I'll start if that's all right.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it kind of relates to what you've just said. I think what I was trying to circle back to before, I think, was that we often hear from people, we sit down with clients in a first meeting, we say, who's your target audience? And people always say, everyone. I sell to everyone, I talk to everyone, which is like a marketing nightmare, because that means you talk to no one really. And I think one of our challenges has been like sticking to that niche, because it's even confusing if you think, oh, I'm a technology company that's transitioning towards being sustainable, but that's not actually our niche, and I think that's often confusing. So saying no to people, I think, is really, really hard when you're a small business, but it's important to do, and I think that's been a challenge and also a really, really important lesson.
Yeah, I second that thought, because it's sometimes, where's the boundary between green innovation, green technology, and something that's not very innovative, is a technology, but sort of the greenness is just an add-on, or is not the kind of disruptive emerging green technology that we personally also are the most excited about, and which we see as the most impactful way to have a positive impact.
Yeah, because it's also part of our sustainability as a business, is that we're working with companies that are making an actual difference. So if there's a company that we don't actually believe is doing something, or at worst is greenwashing, then it's like, that completely undermines the whole mission of our business anyway.
Yeah, I like the expression greenwashing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies put like, yes, we are ethical, we are trustworthy, we are sustainable, we are green, and very much it's just a phrase somewhere there. So how do you make sure? So obviously it's all about the technology that makes the impact, but are there any other ways that you make sure, like, all right, well, they come across as doing that, or they're not walking the talk?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that it comes from specialism in the niche. So I think if you know a particular area really well, and to be honest, in the same way that green tech is seen as a niche, it's not really a niche. There's massive niches within green tech as a whole. The more that you get into that, the more you understand the businesses that are making a difference versus the businesses that are just saying it. And I think often it comes through funding. So you've got VCs, they all vet these organizations. I think it's easier for us coming in because they're sort of already moving. It's not like we're working with pre-investment businesses that don't have any kind of proof of concept or anything like that.
Okay.
I think there's also one aspect where it's about trying to understand, obviously, as much as we can, not being scientists or engineers ourselves, what the technology is about. And so far, we've made a decision to avoid some niches, let's call it types of green technology related areas that we see as inherently very controversial and difficult to assess whether they are actually driving positive change. An example of this would be carbon offsetting, because there is a lot of controversy related to governance of carbon markets, to tree planting, to offsetting methods being seen as greenwashing. So this is something that we decided not to get involved with.
Yeah.
So then the company is approaching you, asking for marketing services here? No.
I mean, yeah, I think that's just a question of sticking within your niche. So I think one of the mistakes that a lot of service-based businesses make at the start is that you start off with a niche in your head and then you just say yes to lots of people, and eventually that just gets diluted. So I think if you say we have a niche, you have to walk the walk, otherwise it doesn't really make sense. There's no point in the first place.
All right, so thinking of experience, what have the biggest lessons been so far as a founder, and maybe something you've learned from your clients that's been like a really valuable lesson on that journey so far?
I mean, I think personally it's like you can't do everything, you can't fit everything in. I don't know how many people here like run businesses, but I feel like probably most, yeah. But
other run VC funds.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like fundamentally there's always so many ideas that you have, and you can only do like 20% of them well, so it's better just to focus on the things you can do well and continue doing that, rather than trying to spread yourself too thin and do everything. And that's been a hard lesson because I always want to do all of it. So I think that's more of a personal note, but it's the same for my clients, because a lot of them are in emerging industries where things are happening and they're very exciting and they're moving quickly, and people you have to prioritize. I think that'd probably be my biggest lesson.
I think to that I would add importance of having a good team, and especially good co-founder, because it's someone who has to get your back. Same goes for the team, same goes for even the freelancers who work with you. You need to be able to work together very well and trust in each other, and then things also have a higher chance to fall into pieces, into their places, rather than stalling, struggling to progress.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Finding the right co-founder. Well, from the start, sometimes you get one from the start, but especially when you're looking, farther on the journey, it's probably a challenge for many. So, speaking of the experience again, any particular success that you're really proud of?
I'd probably start off by mentioning the task force on nature markets, which Matt mentioned earlier. So they're one of our clients, but we also have a really special relationship with them because we're knowledge partners as well. So they're an international organisation working to include nature positive and equitable outcomes in markets. So they've just released a paper actually which found that nature markets, which is basically any market that is trading nature, is supported by nature, stuff like food markets, soft commodities, that as a whole is equal to the third biggest market in the world after the US and China. So what they're doing is making sure that those markets are developed in a way that reflects positive outcomes, and that's really important for climate change. So that was both an honour to be invited to be a knowledge partner, and also it's just great to see their work, because I genuinely just believe in what they're doing.
I think it's for the context worth mentioning who are the other knowledge partners. This will be organizations like IUCN, International Union on Conservation of Nature, the Real Foundation Earthshot Prize, Nelson Mandela School of Public Governance, and the list continues.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah. So that was an exciting day.
That's well done. Congratulations. That's definitely a success. I think 2 years down your journey.
I think also on another side of this question, right, in terms of successes, I think one that seems like a big achievement is our high customer retention, because the customers we've been working with from the start, we are still working with them, and we're just adding new customers to the portfolio, while from having friends in the niche, knowing about marketing agencies, typically their problem is customer retention. They struggle to keep anyone long enough, while for us it seems to be going well so far.
I think that's a struggle for those who don't deliver very often. Yeah, I mean, I work in a, maybe not specifically in marketing industry, but something connected. I know from experience that very often that's the pain of those agencies that actually promise and then the delivery is not there. Yeah.
I know. Well, someone said to me at the start, it might have been Leon actually, so correct me if I'm wrong, but someone said to me right at the start of our business, if you just do the work to a high standard on time, you're better than 50% of the market. So throughout our process, like, it sounds silly, but just focusing on clients all the time rather than getting excited and carried away with the ideas to grow the business as well, I think has by default grown the business, and really it's like grown our reputation in the niche, which is really important in such an emerging area.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk more about the insights of the industry and your focus on sustainability, being green. So the diversity of your clients, from startups to large organizations, is quite interesting, and I suspect that's probably due to the fact that you're very much focused on that niche. You've got quite a lot of clients from London, Sphera, which is a local Durham, based startup as well.
Durham area.
Yeah. So.
And then there is quite a few from Switzerland.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're talking actually with someone from America. So.
Yeah.
Great portfolio. Are there, so among those projects that you've done, is there any particular project or a collaboration supporting clients that you're really, really proud of? Something that is really sort of standing out, because you mentioned quite a lot of organizations that you're part of, but so how about projects?
I think the way we try to work, I know it's gonna sound perhaps a bit silly to marketingy, but we try to do all of our projects in a way that we can be proud of them. So, but I guess if we're going with personal favorites, one of them could be the website we did for Sphera, which was a very interesting project, which is also ongoing, because it started with them getting in touch with us because they needed very quickly a website, because they had no website, or they had like half-broken website following their rebranding, and they needed something out quickly. So we used the growth-driven design methodology to start with a single-page website instead of trying to go in too many directions at the same time, trying to make like a big website with many pages. We got this out quickly, and then as the company was growing, scaling, and also understanding their needs and what they were focusing on as a scaling startup, it was adding the additional pages so that the website grew and evolved with the company, while avoiding the sunken cost bias, sunken cost trap, where you can think that you need this website with like 20 different sub pages on the one, and then you have just so many pages to redo when they stop being up to date, your route to market changes, anything like this.
Yeah, especially early on the journey. I've seen the website, I visited it, but I will revisit tomorrow.
I think what's
and then in the near future there will be also something there to revisit, but
too early
to say more about that today.
Yeah, I think what's really exciting is, I was just thinking, I think probably 80% of our current client base are in the world's first of their type of technology, which is extremely exciting. Very big challenge marketing wise, because you're basically making a new category for the product or service, which is great and very exciting. I think if there's one client that we've worked with for a while, other than Sphera obviously, we've worked with Nature Alpha, who they provide biodiversity data at scale to asset managers, and now one of the world's first of their kind. And they were recently ranked top 10 AI solutions for sustainability development goals by the UN, which is extremely exciting, and they're a startup, so that was a big deal. So that was another exciting day, but I think it's cheesy to say we're proud of all of our clients, but we actually are.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, when you're helping them, you're helping someone who's actually doing something impactful, so it's not hard to be not proud of.
Yeah.
Great. Well, but promoting that sustainability is not just and helping those that do that. It's not just helping and supporting those clients, but also working with walking the talk as founders and as a company. So on a macro and micro level, how do you do that? You gave us a bit of a taste of that in previous questions, but if you could expand, so on a kind of a local scale, how to engage and how to kind of try to encourage or maybe inspire others and talk more about that, and on a macro level as well. Could you tell me?
Of course, yes, absolutely. So I mean, again, this might be something cheesy to say, but it's a process. It's a journey. But one example, I guess, would be us sitting here talking about sustainability and this journey. Another was our decision to become B Corp pending certified, which then after we got certified, turned out that we were the first company from County Durham to be listed in B Corp directory, and now we also, I think, I'm just trying to remember the dates. A week and a half ago, we submitted the complete B Corp application. So hopefully, in the next 6 to 24 months, we will become a full complete B Corp. Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting timeline that it has. And then, as a part of our full B Corp application, we also decided not to aim for the bare minimum of the points, because for those who might not be fully in the loop on B Corp, to be eligible for full B Corp certification, you need to score 80 points on the B Corp impact assessment, which scores your business in 5 areas, which include workers, governance, community engagement, customers, and environment. And this includes questions from your carbon footprint to spending on local suppliers. And we made a decision that, and then you can get 200 points in total, but you need 80 points to be able to make it, because not all of them will be available depending on your business model and similar nuance. So then we made a decision to aim actually for as many points as we reasonably can. Obviously, without trying to just make some of them just kind of like ticking boxes, just to keep it meaningful. But it just seemed like getting the bare pass, just like 81 or something like this, would be a bit less than what we can do. So based on that, we implemented and we are now in the process of taking full action on those commitments and on those policies. We implemented policies related to our virtual office stewardship, because if our team is working primarily remotely, then we as a company can actually help them, provide them with some guidance, suggestions on how they can be also more sustainable themselves. It included looking into, for example, our electricity, which is a bit of a challenging bit if you are at the home office, it's still something that we are right now recalculating to make sure we got the right figures. But then there are areas like community engagement, and which also showed that while you can try to cover a full spectrum of ESG, right, environmental, social governance, it's about ensuring that you do what you can to have this positive impact, but it's not necessarily always possible to do everything, especially without it getting in the way of the core business itself. So one example could be spending on local suppliers, which is an area of B Corp assessment that we'll want to work and find a way to improve on. However, if our spending includes transportation, then it's national suppliers, it's not local companies. And then there is the side where it's not always possible or not always practical for a small company. But again, there are areas like impact business models, especially the one focused on customers, where because of how we decided to run the business, we're able to achieve good results. And we're actually very positively surprised to see that the things that we decided to do out of our own initiative, because we thought it's how the business should be run, right? To help customers well, were actually recognized by B Corp and provided us points, a considerable number of points on this assessment.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've sort of skipped through your questions. I'm sorry, but
That was
we're
the
on
next,
B
so
Corp.
we
That
I
was
know
the-
it's a case question, but
It's fine.
a bit behind the curtain. Yeah, I mean, I think with the B Corp, it's been really useful because it's not really designed for companies of our size. I think it's more like for big companies that are looking at their supply chains and similar. But I think it was really useful doing it from the start because a lot of the stuff we were already doing. So it's stuff like getting proper feedback from your clients, getting proper feedback from your team, making sure you're constantly learning. Like those are things that we thought were important anyway as a small business, as a growing business. But it's still really good to have the full wealth. I mean, B Corp is massive. The areas that it covers are giant, and I think it's good to be able to consider as we grow having those policies already in place so that once we are big, we've done it in a way that's sustainable with sustainability in mind from the start.
Yeah, to follow up on this thought, some of the questions that B Corp asks might seem a bit excessive at the very beginning, but then we also decided to treat it as a framework for ensuring that as we grow the business, as we scale the business, it can remain sustainable. So that's why implementing something like virtual office stewardship right now can make it easier for the future when we have, let's say, 10 employees rather than 1, 2, 3.
That's also probably helping when you're recruiting and choosing the right people, because you usually kind of, obviously you try to recruit people with the right skills, but most importantly with right mindset and kind of fit the culture, and you creating this culture from the beginning. It probably makes sense. So yeah, my next question was very much around that. So if you could just add, how long was the process? When did you start? Was it like, really a lot of work to go through? What's the process? If you could tell me and the audience a bit more about that, if anyone would consider that later on. Yeah.
This is a great question. I don't remember how many, just for the context, I don't remember how many questions there are in B Corp, but I think it's around easily between 150 and 200. And some of them are very in-depth, very technical, asking about different scopes of emissions, about different categories of things that you might not think about on the day-to-day basis in your business. So I remember when we first considered that, I looked through the B Corp impact assessment and thought, oh wow, this is very complex, this is very complicated. Maybe we'll be able to do it sometime by the end of this year, if things align. However, then actually Durham University Careers and Enterprise Center, I think Marek is doing things with them, launched quite unexpectedly this summer an internship scheme for sustainable development projects. And we're very lucky in the person who applied to us and whom we chose. That's Poppy sitting there in the back. A little round of applause.
Well done. Thank you for helping.
We then had someone who worked with us for 4 weeks full time, spending I think 140 hours just on the B Corp impact assessment, which meant that we were able to actually prepare it, and someone, Poppy, who researched it for us and was able to prepare recommendations on the change we should do in the business. And we then implemented those recommendations, and that allowed us to actually submit the B Corp application. And this part of having someone there to look at our sustainability, to help us keep track of it, was so meaningful that we also offered Poppy a role of a sustainability coordinator at Doctor to help us ensure that while we get busy with customers, while we get busy with all those like other matters, sustainability still stays at the center of the business, and that we deliver on all of our B Corp commitments, that we always look for ways to improve, to grow, and progress.
Yeah, I mean, for context, we gave Poppy what we thought was about 6 weeks worth of work, and she had a 4-week period with us.
And we made it clear that, you probably won't be able to finish it all.
We were like, there's so much. We think this is 6 weeks work, 4 weeks, get through as much as you can. 3 weeks in, she finished and was asking us what to do next. So I think you've got to get someone who's like really passionate about it. But yeah, it's interesting decision, right, in a business to have one of your early hires being a sustainability coordinator. I think that's probably not right at the beginning of the business, even though that was always something that was important to us. I wouldn't have thought
Let's
to do
ask.
that.
How many business owners do we have here? Okay, who's got the sustainability officer?
Me, because I wear all that.
Oh, right, lots of businesses. Amazing. Are you also B Corps or applying, thinking of?
My company's a big corp, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think you'll agree that like, I think it's so important to do, but it is a lot of work, and I think people often ask us about it, like, oh, how can we do this on the side? Can we start working on it? And you know, you absolutely can, but it is a big chunk of work, and I think people sometimes underestimate how much it takes to even become B Corp pending, which is what we are now.
Yeah. So currently you're a B Corp pending, and what's then? What happens? I mean, how much time do you think it will take to?
6 to 24 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the B Corp, that's the timeline B Corp provides.
Yeah.
With when you submit an application. Excuse me?
No,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
So and then we obviously did what we could to implement those changes and ensure we have the evidence that B Corp might require to ensure that those next steps of the process also go smoothly.
Okay. Good. So, if anyone here who's not or hasn't thought about that would like to do it, what do you think would be the main reason for them to do it? Just, obviously sustainability, and like everyone talks about it, but is there anything that you think would be that driver for them?
I mean, I personally think that it's not just the future, it's happening now. I think regulation-wise as a business, it's something invaluable that you have to get ahead of. Like, obviously I care massively about it, and that's why we formed our whole business around green technology, but at the same time, looking 3 years in the future, like the regulation is coming for SMEs, and I think that we have to be really prepared in that. And B Corp is above and beyond because it's so in depth, but it is worth, like at the beginning of our growth journey and at the beginning of our business, knowing the regulations around the corner, I think it's worth putting these things in place now, so that you don't have a nasty shock a few years down the line, because it's going to be so much harder to do it. It takes so long to do it well, I think. So it's a constant learning process. I think it's good to start now, and there's still loads that we have to learn,
Absolutely, but there's also this part where with sustainability, as shown by everything we explored as a part of B Corp application process, it's something that's much easier to implement at the very beginning, when you're a relatively small company, when you're setting up processes, when you're finding your long-term suppliers, when you're doing all those things. If you have sustainability in mind, then you can set them up for long-term sustainability success, instead of being, a 50-person company and realizing that, oh wow, we're now getting supplier screening survey from the customer we really want to work, and they're asking us about our carbon footprint, and we have no idea, because it becomes much more difficult to calculate, to track it, and also much more expensive to take any, I think the word would be corrective action, because if you set it up well from the start, then you just progress in this way, and you're future-proofing your business by putting this investment at this moment where it's optional.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about as a service business, we're getting now, like today, we're getting customers coming to us and saying, we're doing our scope 3 emissions, we need to know about our suppliers, we need you to disclose your carbon footprint. And that's just carbon footprint now, but I'm sure it's going to expand into other areas of ESG in the future. So it's like regulation, I think it's as a business, there's lots of reasons for it, but I think definitely the scope 3 is coming for service businesses, so we've got to like get ahead of that.